Well, good morning and happy Monday. I just want to do a quick video here on speccing a truck. I've been asked a lot from guys on what I thought about speccing a truck or buying a truck, and so there's certain things that you need to know about buying a truck if and what you're looking for. So first thing is, what's the truck gonna do? So what job will it have? Uh, for example, is it going to pull a lowboy, or is it going to pull a regular semi trailer, short, long? Just depends on the job. So not all trucks are created equal, and they need to be spec'd and bought with the job in mind. So a regular truck that just runs down the highway, 80,000 pounds, pulling one trailer, can be a 3-axle truck. It doesn't have to be super long wheelbase, and can just have standard specs. And like something that's pulling a lowboy, for example, or even heavy haul beyond just a standard lowboy, that's going to have really heavy specs and a longer wheelbase. And the reason for that is the state laws. So we live in Oregon, and the state laws here, they're called bridge laws. Your wheelbase, your measurements from axle to axle, make a big difference on how much weight you can haul. So when you for example, go get a heavy haul permit, they want to know your axle measurements. So you got to do center axle to center axle all the way down your setup, and that dictates how much weight you can haul on that truck. Now, a lot of guys have asked me how to spec a truck. I've been trucking for 25 years. I've owned my own. I own my own right now. I've driven for other companies. I've been an employee, and I've been around them a lot. I work on them as well as drive them. I don't know everything about it. I'm not the ultimate truck driver or anything like that. Just this is my experience. So basically, like I said, you want to know what job you're going to do with that truck, where you're going to work it, and what specs you need to get that job done as efficiently as possible. However much driver comfort you can add makes a big difference also, and resale value is something to think about. So just a quick spec on a truck. Say the way my truck is sitting, and I'll just use mine as an example, the one I own right now. It has 4 axles, so a steer axle, a drop axle, and 2 drive axles. The wheelbase is about 255, right in there, and I can haul 105,000 pounds pretty easy with that truck. It's legal. Even with a 53-foot 4-axle trailer, I can go to 105.5. You can't do that with a 3-axle truck. You'd be 90, probably 94, 96, somewhere in there, losing that drop axle. So with that truck spec that way and hauling that much weight, where I live, everything's pretty mountainous here. So you're either going over a pass or going up into the woods or whatever. So you're pulling a lot of weight uphill, a lot, and downhill. So that's to be you got to be cognizant of that. So spec a truck that will pull the hills. So you're going to want a little bit of horsepower. You know, 450 minimum, maybe 500 is a good line. If you're pulling a lot of weight, 500 and above. You can do it with less. It just works the truck harder. 18-speed transmission is like top of the line. That's where you want to be. You can do it with a 13, you can do it with a 15, you can do it with a 10. It's just drivability. An 18 is going to be easier to catch gears in. You can split all your gears low and high, and be able to get things done. So horsepower and gearing, and then the rear end ratio. You want, not a high geared rear end ratio. So mine's running a 410 ratio in the rear. That's a little bit low, but it's also a log truck, and then set up for pulling a lowboy or whatever. So fuel mileage it affects the fuel mileage some, but having the power and the gearing is worth the trade. So if you were just gonna haul 80,000 pound semi trailers down the highway, uh, you could just spec out a 3-axle truck, say 400, 450 horse, 10 speed, even an automatic. I'm not an automatic fan, but I've never really driven a truck that application worked well in. I've always been kind of a heavy haul guy, or in the woods, and automatics are just a no-go there, for me anyway. I like being able to shift myself. Um, you could spec a 3-axle truck, 220 wheelbase, something simple, light. Basically, on the highway, you want as light as possible, so you're just trying to gain payload. Light rear ends, single speed rears, no lockers, just an interlock. Everything light, and works good for highway application. Now, even here in Oregon, you could do that, pulling containers if that's all you're doing, or semi trailers, and get away with it. We still got to pull the mountains no matter where we go here. It seems like nothing's really very flat, other than maybe going east towards Burns. But the biggest thing you want to do is make sure you know what the truck's going to do. So even if it's going to do different jobs, so your truck's going to pull a regular semi trailer sometimes, then it might hook onto a lowboy, then it might, get a dump box on it or whatever. You want to understand what you're going to do with the truck, and they are not all created equal, as I said. And most trucks, just a standard run-of-the-mill highway truck, will not hold up in the woods. They're just not built heavy spec enough, and especially if you're hauling lowboy stuff or logs, it's just going to destroy them. Even if you're careful, if you're an owner operator and you're super gentle, you probably get away with it for a while. But if you got hired drivers in that truck, you're going to be fixing stuff nonstop. So, a truck that's heavy spec, we can go there. The 4-axle trucks that are heavy spec, you're going to want the thicker frame, you're going to want the bigger front end, and that all depends on what you're doing with it. You want a decent drop axle that's a good spec for weight, and probably 40,000 to 46,000 pound rear ends. You can also go above that if you're pulling huge amounts of weight, like huge lowboy loads. You can go up to like 54,000 pound rears. That's pretty big. But the standard on like a log truck or a lowboy truck is a 46,000 pound set of rear ends, and they're set up with locking rear ends, so they have full lockers, and that's kind of the way a guy wants to go with that. It's a pretty good setup. Sorry, my dog's chewing on a bone down there, probably making noise. Anyway, so like my truck, the one I'm running right now, is set up with, it has like a 14,000 pound front axle, it has a 10,000 pound drop axle, and then 40,000 pound locking rear ends in it. So it's a log truck. I've got it switched over to fifth wheel right now. I'm pulling containers with it at the moment. It's set up to pull whatever fifth wheel trailer I can hook onto. I'm running about 500 horse, maybe a little above. It's got an 18 speed in it. The drivability is just unmatched. It's to have that kind of horsepower and be able to split the gears with a 410 gear ratio, running the mountain passes, it just does a good job. And I'm getting about 5.5 miles to the gallon with it, pulling 80,000 pounds. So not horrible. It could be better. If I had higher gears, it would be better, but it wouldn't pull as good in the mountains. So that's the trade-off. So anyway, he's noisy. So anyway, that's kind of some of the things that a guy needs to think about. Now, as far as driver comfort goes, if you are speccing a truck like brand new and you want to spec it out for yourself, I would go all out. It doesn't cost that much more. Get everything that truck's going to get. All the gauges you want. Just everything you can put on it is my opinion. Because you're paying for it, you're going to drive it, have it. You might as well have the good stuff and resell. it's going to get better resale. When you're done with the truck, you want to trade it in, go with another new one, or sell it to somebody or whatever. It's going to have way better resale doing that. So I would go all out on that spec deal. And same thing, you're specing the truck for the job, so same deal. You can spec it light if you're running highway, spec it heavy if you're running the mountains or pulling a lowboy. And the guys at the dealer can help you, whichever dealer you go to, whichever your favorite brand is, they can help you with that stuff. So we've done that before. I've done that as an employee for an employer, spec'd a truck out. We went all out on it. I wasn't going to end up driving it. It was another guy, but as far as resale goes, that truck is very valuable, especially here, because it is everything everybody wants. And it didn't cost him that much more to add that stuff, and it's worth it in the end. You're gonna get that return on investment for sure. If you're buying a used truck, there's some things to think about there too. Used trucks, that's a harder one. So a lot of guys, when they're shopping used, are looking in a price range. I only want to pay up to 40,000 or 50,000 or whatever it is. 80,000, depending on your budget and what you're looking for. I'll make another video on the used truck thing because there's a lot to it, in my opinion. So same deal though, you want to look for the specs you need for the job it's going to do. And I've had some guys even ask me about buying big trucks to do small truck stuff. Don't do that. It's a waste of money. You're going to waste a lot of money on registration and insurance when you can get an F550 or even like a Kodiak style truck to do the job. It can pull a gooseneck that's big. They make pretty big gooseneck trailers now with electric brakes on it. Going to be a lot cheaper to license, insure, and you don't have to have all the credentials, as many credentials to run them. So that's something to think about too. If you're just hauling backhoes around or skid steers or whatever, you can do that with a pickup. Dually pickup will pull a backhoe on a gooseneck safely. So a guy doesn't need a Class 8 semi truck to pull that stuff around with. It just depends on the application. So I hope that helps a little bit. Just stuff to think about. And obviously licensing fees, the heavier you go, the more you pay. And same thing with mileage taxes. The heavier your haul, the more mileage tax you pay. Obviously, still again, with weight, the higher you go on weight, the more insurance you pay. So just things to think about. And if you have any questions, just give me a comment there. I'll read them and I try to answer the best I can. But that's just kind of a quick once over on trucks. So I hope you have a good day. We'll catch you on the next one.